Good evening, everyone. This is Wayne over at the Alchemical Tech Revolution YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to talk about the mirror world. It's an interesting concept right here that we're looking at. Tonight what we're going to go through, this is from a paper that, an article actually, not necessarily a paper, but an article from the IEEE Pervasive Computing Journal from June of 2015. And that's the Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineers, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. So this is a scientific journal, and it's a peer-reviewed type of journal. So you have your all-important scientific peer review process going on there with this. And this article is entitled "The Mirror World: Preparing for Mixed Reality Living," and this was put together from a couple people from the University of Bologna. Somebody that works for a company called Reply Incorporated, and somebody from the Institute of Cognitive Science and Technologies. So we'll just go right in and read this document verbatim so you could see what kind of wonderful things they have in store for us in the future. Are you ready, player one? In recent years, impressive hardware technologies have been developed that let mobile and embedded devices better exploit the internet and web, and better interact with the physical world. Such developments are making futuristic scenarios involving ambient intelligence and smart environments in everyday reality by integrating research contributions from the fields of ubiquitous computing, sensor networking, and artificial intelligence. Such AMI, this would be ambient intelligence, such AMI and smart environment scenarios will be further enriched by augmented reality, also referred here as AR, and mixed reality technologies. We'll be able to create a digital layer to augment the physical world with situated information and services that can be perceived by wearable devices, such as smart glasses. Conceptually, such devices will be able to seamlessly extend people's cognitive capabilities of perception and reasoning to influence their actions in both the real and augmented world. Now, before we proceed here any further, ladies and gentlemen, think in terms of the game that came out a couple years ago, Pokemon Go. This was a soft introduction to this augmented reality technology. When you think about that, you're walking around in all these places in the real physical world looking for these digital, avatars of these Pokemons. This was a soft introduction to this idea, and they have so much more in store here for us. So let's go ahead and take a look a little further in the article. Furthermore, the scale of the envisioned scenarios is no longer limited to rooms or houses. The development of network and cloud technologies and the Internet of Things, that's important, people, Internet of Things, remember that, you're going to hear that a lot in the next few years, enables large-scale smart spaces, scaling from small environments to entire cities. This implies going from mobile apps to urban apps, that is, applications running on city-level software and hardware infrastructures, creating an open ecology of interconnected smart spaces and services. Are you picking up what this is putting down here, folks? They're talking about infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure do they need to put up this whole kind of augmented reality type of a scenario here? What kind of infrastructure? Hardware. This is what they're talking about. What kind of hardware do they need to put in place in order to make this stuff operational? Well, that would be the 5G, wouldn't it? And the coming 6G network as well, along with that. So let's continue on here. All this leads to a new kind of smart space in which digital, physical, and social layers, pay attention to that, social layers are strongly intertwined. These spaces extend the classic assistive functionality of AMI, that's, like we said, ambient intelligence, towards more proactive possibilities, where the smart environment not only monitors people as they perform tasks or supports them by executing their requests, but also influences and changes their plans and intentions. Are you listening to this, folks? Are you picking up what they're saying here? What's going on with COVID right now? How are they going to do this, what do they call it, contact tracing? They're going to use these technologies to do that. That's what this is about. It's a control system. It's a surveillance grid. It's to keep you in the little box, people. That's what it's about. But they're going to try and make it seem fun at first by introducing little games like Pokemon Go and different virtual reality simulation type things. But there's going to be infrastructure in place. So wherever you go and you're jacked into this system, you're going to be monitored and tracked and influenced. They say it right here. Make no bones about this. It says right here, I'm going to read it again, okay? We'll start right here again. These spaces extend the classic assistive functionality of AMI, and that's ambient intelligence, towards more proactive possibilities, where the smart environment not only monitors people as they perform tasks or supports them by executing their requests, but also influences and changes their plans and intentions. Can't be any plainer than that, can it? This is a mind control technology that's going to be utilized here. Whether they try to make it look fun or like a game or like something good or not. This is a mind control technology. That's the intention embedded in this article right here. It's not even hidden. I mean, this is plain as day. Let's continue on here because it gets more interesting as we go through the article. A main research challenge will be to define a conceptual foundation for these spaces, effective enough to model open, possibly large-scale smart environments and their interaction with humans. The vision of mirror worlds presents one possibility for modeling these spaces. The name Mirror World is a tribute to David Gelernter's book, which inspired some of the main concepts behind the idea of integrating research visions developed in the context of agents and multi-agent systems, pervasive computing, and augmented reality. Here, we explore this concept of a mirror world, looking in particular at how it will affect our cognitive abilities, and noting some of the research challenges that will be needed to be addressed. So, see, they're implementing this idea of the mirror world, and I'm sure you people have seen this reflected in the entertainment, and have been kind of hearing about this stuff coming up, and the whole idea of augmented reality and virtual reality gaming and stuff like that. We've all seen this stuff being focused on very heavily in our society right now, and how this is being pushed as like the next generation of gaming and all kinds of things like that. And then they're also looking at the idea of the Google glasses. You remember those a couple years back? It was kind of a flop at the time because the technology wasn't quite there, because the infrastructure wasn't quite there. But now, with them rolling out 5G, they could make this stuff very much implementable because of the infrastructure being put in place to kind of help this thing along. So if you're using, say, something like those Google glasses, the next generation of them, you'd be able to maybe, I don't know, look at somebody and it could display their body temperature. There's a COVID use right there, right? And you can see how this is all being tied to this whole medical grid kind of idea. You could probably look at somebody if the facial recognition AI is in place. It could probably put a display of their name and some of their biological information for you, but to probably display their body temperature, take that kind of readings, be able to read their heart rate, because that technology exists as well now with this infrastructure. So these are just some possible uses for this stuff. If you really want to get down to brass tacks with it. That's kind of not what they're openly talking about here per se, but those are the kinds of things this could be used for. So let's move on here. Smart spaces as mirror worlds. In the mirror world vision, smart spaces are modeled in terms of digital cities shaped by the physical world with which they're coupled, inhabited by open societies and organizations of software agents playing the role of the inhabitants of those cities. This is going to be the next step in social media, folks. This is going to be where you actually physically go out into the city in reality and could hang out in these different virtual spaces with perhaps real people or the avatars of real people, or even not for real people, like virtual people and things of that nature. I mean, you're talking, this is kind of creepy when you really think about it. This is the kind of stuff they're talking about. Let's move on here. Two worlds collide. Mirroring occurs when physical things, which can be perceived and acted upon by humans in the physical world, have a digital counterpart or extension in the mirror world, so that they can be observed and acted upon by agents. Vice versa, an entity in the mirror world that can be perceived and acted upon by software agents can have a physical appearance or extension in the physical world. For example, through AR, that's augmented reality, so that it can be observed and acted upon by humans. This implies a form of coupling, such that an action on an object in the physical world causes some kind of changes in entities in the mirror world, perceivable by software agents. Similarly, an action by agents on an entity in the mirror world can have an effect on things in the physical world, perceivable by people. As mirror world citizens, agents are responsible for autonomously performing tasks by observing or using the mirror world things in their environment. This is getting really heavy now, isn't it? So in this scenario, we don't just live in our real world with a parallel second life in the virtual or simulated world. Rather, we will live in both worlds, which together comprise an augmented reality. What do you think about that? These people are openly talking about using augmented reality technology to change the way we live in this world. Right now, there's so many people so tied up with these electronics and social media and video games and all that stuff that they kind of can't separate themselves from it. Now, this is going to be totally immersive, and you could actually physically interact with virtual objects in the real world and vice versa, and have real world effects from things within this quote-unquote mirror world, and vice versa. You could have physical effects. You could affect things in the mirror world, and things from the mirror world can affect the real physical world. This is what they're talking about. They're trying to put this infrastructure in place to make this a reality. So what's one of the big uses that they could look at right now for this, okay? If they're monitoring things through an augmented reality type filter, they could institute things like social distancing much easier by having an effect in the mirror world and making people perceive this effect in the mirror world. Maybe it would be something like, I don't know, negative karma or negative social credit. Where have we heard that term before? Something along those lines. If you're not, adhering to these social distancing rules or the mask wearing or any of that stuff, and, that kind of thing, perhaps they could institute some kind of a penalty to you, and something that would be visible and perceivable to everybody within this common mirror world type space that they're talking about, this public space. Let's continue on with the article here. A gaming example. As a clarifying example, consider an extension of the mobile augmented reality game Ghosts in the City, modeled as a mirror world. And they have a little picture here of what they're figuring as a game. It looks a little like Pac-Man. All right, just to give you a kind of an idea of what we're looking at. The mirror world comprises a collection of treasures and ghosts distributed in some part of a real-world city, mapped out in the mirror world. There are two teams of human players. Their objective is to collect as many treasures as possible by actually walking around in the city without being caught by the ghosts. And these ghosts that they have pictured here look just like the Pac-Man ghosts. I guess they chase you around the city while you try to collect these treasures. So this is the example they're citing, and see how they're making it look like fun little gaming ideas and stuff like that. But I could assure you that there's much different things in mind for this type of technology. Players have smart glasses, and they use their smartphone as a magic wand. Well, how do you like that language that they put in there, folks? A magic wand. Okay, let's continue on. Ghosts are agents autonomously moving around in the mirror world and in the city via devices or sensors. Players perceive ghosts using their AR glasses. The ghosts appear when the player approaches. Ghosts can also perceive nearby players. Ghosts aim to catch human players, so they start to follow a player as soon as... Hold on, I lost my place here, folks. Bear with me. So they start to follow a player as soon as they perceive one. A ghost catches a player by grabbing his or her body in the mirror world, which is physically perceived by humans when their magic wand, their smartphone, vibrates. See how they're tying all these things through these smartphones? You see how these devices are a tool to kind of get us accustomed to higher and higher forms of technology and more invasive type technologies. Now imagine this at the next level, when you're not just talking a smartphone, when you're talking about you have an implanted chip, say in your head or your arm or something that would start to vibrate, or gives you a sensation like that you could feel. That's kind of where this whole idea is going. Let's continue on here. Different kinds of ghosts prefer different locations depending on the physical parameters, the level of humidity, amount of light, temperature, and so on. So ghosts can perceive the physical world too, using their own looking glasses in the mirror world. Isn't that nice? These mirror world entities can actually perceive things in the physical world too, and it works both ways. Isn't that great? So the artificial intelligence control grid will be constantly monitoring the real physical world and will be able to distinguish what is in the physical world as well as what's in the mirror world. So that's crazy, isn't it? But this is what they're talking about. Let's continue on. Players can exploit this fact to avoid being captured. For example, if a player is being chased by a ghost known to be intolerant to light, the player can run under a street lamp. However, a ghost might have the power to switch off the physical lights. If the lights have a counterpart in the mirror world, that can be controlled by agents. How do you like that? These AI-controlled avatars can actually, like, maybe turn off the power in the real world, in the real physical world, and that kind of thing. Isn't that, but this is so beyond, like, anything you could imagine in the worst sci-fi film ever. Like, this is what they're talking about doing with this technology. That's kind of a disturbing thing, to think that some kind of an artificial intelligence can actually have real-world physical effects in our real physical world and do things like this. Who's to say, if you're not wearing your mask and you're not properly social distancing, and your social credit score drops, perhaps this artificial intelligence, would turn off your electricity at your house, make it very inconvenient for you. This is a real possibility. I mean, think about this. That would be another use for this type of a technology. Let's continue on. Also, a player with enough power can use his or her magic wand to create temporary holes in the ground, which can absorb ghosts. Yes, indeed. Yet, ghosts can collaborate to create team strategies to catch players by encircling them, for example. Okay, I'm going to take a little pause here, right after that statement. This is utterly disturbing. This is training the AI to entrap you. That's basically what a game like this would be used for. This would train the AI in order to figure out the best way to corner you in some type of a scenario. That's disturbing, folks. But this is what they're talking about, and this is just in the guise of a game right now. Okay, that's what they're talking about with this in this article, as a game. But if you learn to read between the lines, you know that is methodology for training AI to do some disturbing things, to learn human behavior and be able to predict human behavior with a great deal of accuracy, and to respond to it in real time with the real ability to do so using this whole infrastructure that's in place. So that's what this is setting up here. Let's continue on with the article. Although this is just a game, it exemplifies a number of features found in a mirror world concerning the action and perception of human actors and agents in the augmented mixed environment. Augmenting human cognition and sociality. Here we go. That's a fancy way for saying they want to control your behavior and your thoughts. Given the tight coupling between the physical world and its mirror, the vision of a mirror world will have a profound impact on human cognitive systems and how human societies function. No kidding. Okay, already our brains augment our reality. Using our imagination, we can explore possible actions and their effects to mentally solve problems, with less costs and risks than actually performing the actions. Moreover, our brain serves to integrate our current perception of the physical world with our top-down memory-based predictions. We see much more than what impinges on our retina. We see balls and spheres even if we just perceive the stimuli of a semi-sphere, or we perceive the ambulance is coming even if we just faintly hear a siren. Even if natural cognition is already a form of augmented reality, a mirror world will multiply this augmentation because while we act, we will have infinite memory, data, processing power, and simulation capabilities offered by the parallel and integrated computational world. Much of our intelligence will be artificial, but in real time, changing what we see, imagine, and can do. See that? Listen to that, folks. They're talking about fundamentally changing the human brain or human consciousness. Okay, they're going to merge these two worlds together. You will perceive both of these worlds. You'll exist simultaneously in both of these worlds, and things that happen in this artificial digital world will affect you in your real physical everyday life. The real physical world. This is, one of those things where this is how they want to try to tie your consciousness to an AI control grid. And they admit right here, while we act, we will have infinite memory, data, processing power, and simulation capabilities offered by the parallel and integrated computational world. See, they're making it sound attractive. We'll have infinite memory, infinite data processing power, simulation capabilities. You'll have superpowers, folks. You'll be able to do all kinds of things with your mind, affect your world in ways you never thought possible. See how they give you this promise of, this kind of power or ability? But then it goes on to say here in the very next sentence, much of our intelligence will be artificial. Hear that? I'll repeat that. Much of our intelligence will be artificial, but in real time, changing what we see, imagine, and can do. Real time, artificial intelligence controlling you, folks. Think about that. That's what it's saying right there. Much of your intelligence will be artificial. You'll be controlled by an external force, an external something else. This intelligence, your behavior will be modified by this intelligence and by the perceptions given you by this intelligence. This is dangerous. Dangerous kind of place to go, folks. Let's continue on with the article here. Moreover, once the mirror world is in place, we will act in this augmented reality with the help of more or less hidden artificial intelligence. There it is again. What will emerge is a new extended mind, as depicted by Andy Clark in Supersizing the Mind, Embodiment, Action, and Cognitive Extension, Oxford University Press, 2010. A mind in which cognitive functions are distributed well beyond the limits of our skulls and brains. This mixed artificial and natural brain will be both individual and social, a collective, cooperative intelligence that will be experienced in several cases as our own intelligence/mind. Should I read that again so you guys in the back, you get the whole gist here? A mind in which cognitive functions are distributed well beyond the limits of our skulls and brains. This mixed artificial and natural brain will be both individual and social, a collective, cooperative intelligence that will be experienced in several cases as our own intelligence/mind. Experienced in several cases as our own intelligence or mind. Not wholly, not wholly your mind or intelligence, folks, experienced as. In several cases, only sometimes will you personally get to experience this intelligence. This is denoting something a little bit darker here, in my view. The way that they worded this, experienced. You're going to experience the artificial intelligence controlling you. So, when it comes down to it, this is what this is. You're giving over your sovereignty to an external source, this artificial intelligence. Let's read on here. Such a hybrid mind will be necessary for dealing with the new augmented and mixed mirror world, where other eyes, senses, actions, data, and reasoning are needed. When will we feel these functions as our own extended mental and practical behavioral activities, and when will we perceive them as a cooperative team activity? Furthermore, when might they be perceived as an animistic presence in the world? Will we have an externalized mirror superego? All these psychologies will be possible in our mirror world. As a case in point, consider the feeling of individual agency, that is, to be the author and initiator of your own actions. A feeling of agency is indeed crucial to sustain our sense of control and, ultimately, moral responsibility for what we do. Recent research in cognitive sciences has revealed that such feeling of agency depends on the perceived congruence between predicted and actual outcomes, both in individual and joint action contexts. To avoid disrupting this core cognitive process, the extended range of agency of individuals and groups that will be available in mirror worlds should match this requirement by design. In particular, it should be possible to support the simulation of individual and combined effects in the mirror world in a way that is shared and observable both by human and artificial agents, is updated in runtime, and can be matched to perceived results in the physical world. In addition, inhabiting a mirror world could also profoundly affect collective behavior. First, at a base level, mirror worlds allow for augmenting the design space of interaction mechanisms, in particular for emergent forms of coordination such as stigmergy and behavioral implicit communication. An easy example is a virtual post-it, with a message observable by nearby humans and perceivable and modifiable by software agents in the mirror world. Second, at a higher level, mirror worlds can also support new solutions to collective action problems by making the effect of individual behaviors explicit. Modifying dysfunctional collective patterns is often hampered by specific cognitive limitations. For example, the perceived negligence of individual contributions to such collective outcomes might downsize your own personal responsibility. Also, the complexity of anticipating any negative consequences of present directed decisions might obscure individual and collective interests. Additionally, well-known cognitive biases discount the value of larger future rewards in favor of smaller but temporarily closer ones, and thus ease myopic and poor choices. All of these cognitive limitations might be better addressed in a mirror world, whose role in making these combined and temporarily extended effects visible and perceivable could influence individual decision-making in ways not currently possible. It's all about control, folks. That's it in a nutshell right there. It's all about controlling your mind, controlling your perceptions, controlling your actions, controlling your behavior. It's all summed up right there. I just read that verbatim from this article. Let's finish it up here because it's only a short time. It's, just a couple more paragraphs. The concrete development of a mirror world calls for integrating a variety of existing enabling technologies, the Internet of Things and mixed reality in particular, into a three-layer stack, which closely resembles existing ubiquitous computing stacks. In addition, we'll need to learn how to concretely and systematically use the mirror world to explore interdisciplinary aspects concerning large-scale mixed reality smart spaces, from cognition to interaction, cooperation, and here's the important word, folks, governance. Finally, as Gregory Abouds had noted, after 2 decades of research, Ubicomp is going to disappear as a niche research field, becoming an intelligent domain of all of computing. This requires us to devise the next generation of computing, which should be effective enough to conceive, design, and develop future pervasive and smart computing apps in the large as we do with traditional applications today. In that perspective, a main research point is understanding how mirror worlds can affect how we think about computing, programming, and designing systems. And that's the end of the article right there, folks. But as you can see, this is all about controlling people at the end of the day, changing their behaviors. This is it. This is the infrastructure that they plan on using for this new AI control grid that's coming. And they're using this whole COVID pandemic to bring this whole thing to fruition. That's what that whole thing is about. So as you can see, all this stuff, artificial intelligence, transhumanism, the whole 9 yards, all tied up in it. And that's what this whole COVID thing has been about all along. And you can see how they're using these technologies to try to implement this control grid. So this is where we're going. This is where we're at.